No one in the quiet town of Riverside could ever forget the winter morning when newborn twins Noah and Nora were found at the steps of St. Helena Children's Home. Wrapped in a thin blanket, their cheeks red from the cold, the note pinned beside them carried only 6 heartbreaking words: "We can't raise children like this." The staff stood frozen in disbelief. Not because the babies had been abandoned, they had seen that before, but because these tiny twins, with matching dark hair and almond-shaped eyes, were born with Down syndrome. The nurses rushed them inside, warming their trembling bodies and praying silently that life would somehow be kinder to them than the parents who had given up on them. But fate often tests the gentle the hardest. As the twins grew older, it became clear that their development was slower than other children's. They spoke later, walked later, and required constant therapy. Yet Noah and Nora had something no one could teach: an unbreakable bond. He would hold her hand when she stumbled, and she would pat his back softly when he cried. Their world was small, but inside it, love was abundant. Still, society rarely embraced children who were different. The staff noticed how visitors looking to adopt would smile politely but skip past the twins, whispering apologies as they turned away. Year after year, Noah and Nora watched other children leave the orphanage with new families while they remained behind. But even in their loneliness, they found comfort in each other. And while the world saw limitations, the twins carried inside them a spark no one had yet discovered, one that would someday shake the world and bring millions to tears. It happened on an afternoon no one expected. Sister Amelia, the only nun who never treated the twins with pity, sat at the old piano in the orphanage dining hall, playing soft melodies as the children finished their homework. Noah, usually shy, walked toward the instrument with wide, curious eyes. His little fingers hovered over the keys, trembling not with fear but excitement. "Do you want to try?" Sister Amelia asked, surprised. Noah nodded, his tiny hands landing gently on the keys. What happened next stole her breath away. He pressed a sequence of notes, not random banging like most children, but a pattern, a rhythm, an echo of the tune she had just played. Nora rushed beside him and tapped a plate with a spoon, following the beat instinctively. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't even polished, but it was music. Real music. Tears welled in Sister Amelia's eyes. She had seen many gifts in children, but never something so pure, so unexpected. Over the following weeks, she allowed the twins to join her during practice. Noah learned the piano faster than anyone could believe, playing by ear, memorizing sounds rather than reading notes. Nora, equally gifted, discovered a violin in the supply closet and insisted on holding it like the children she had once seen on TV. Though she struggled with coordination, her patience was unmatched. The first time she drew the bow across the strings, the sound was rough, but her determination shone like fire. The staff gathered often at the doorway, stunned at the way music seemed to unlock a world inside the twins that words could not. The children who once struggled to communicate now spoke fluently through melody. Their talent became the whisper of the orphanage, a miracle unfolding in real time. What no one knew yet was that this small miracle was preparing them for a moment that would reach far beyond the walls of St. Helena. Despite their growing musical ability, the twins continued to feel the sting of society's ignorance. At school, other children sometimes stared, laughed, or whispered hurtful things. Some teachers dismissed them automatically, assuming they couldn't follow along or succeed. But music became their shield. Whenever the world made them feel small, Noah would sit at the piano and Nora would place her violin beneath her chin, and together they built a universe made entirely of sound, one where they were not disabled, not abandoned, not underestimated, but extraordinary. Sister Amelia, recognizing their rising potential, began teaching them classical pieces, Mozart, Beethoven, Vivaldi, but also encouraged them to create their own melodies. Noah would craft simple tunes with emotional depth that far surpassed his age, while Nora learned to harmonize, filling the room with soft, trembling vibratos. Their duet grew stronger each day, like two pieces of a broken heart healing one another through music. Eventually, the orphanage decided to record a small performance for a charity event. The video showed Noah playing a gentle, childlike piano progression while Nora followed with a violin melody that trembled with innocence and pain, a sound that felt like a story of being abandoned yet choosing love anyway. When they finished, their small faces turned up with shy smiles, unaware of the beauty they had just created. No one imagined that a simple recording would soon escape the boundaries of the orphanage, travel across the internet, and change their lives forever. The charity event organizers posted the video on social media with the caption, "Music from the Children's Society Forgot." Within hours, it gathered comments. Within a day, it reached thousands. Within a week, millions. People everywhere, musicians, parents, teachers, celebrities, shared the video, expressing shock, admiration, and tears. Some wrote, "How can children with Down syndrome play like this?" While others replied, "Because their hearts are pure, and their souls speak through music." The twins had unintentionally become symbols of potential, hope, and the extraordinary abilities hidden in those whom society often dismisses. News outlets contacted the orphanage. Music instructors offered free training. Orchestras invited the twins to visit. Noah and Nora, still only 8 years old, could not fully grasp the magnitude of what was happening. All they knew was that the world suddenly felt warmer, kinder, even to children like them. One day, Sister Amelia walked into the dormitory holding a letter with trembling hands. It was from the National Children's Orchestra, inviting Noah and Nora to perform a duet on stage for a live televised event. Is that good?" Nora asked softly, clutching her violin. Sister Amelia knelt beside her, tears falling freely. "It's more than good, sweetheart, it's a miracle." The twins may have been abandoned at birth, but fate had brought them to a place where their music would echo far louder than the silence their parents left behind. The night of the performance arrived, and backstage buzzed with lights, makeup artists, and anxious young musicians. Noah wore a small navy suit, while Nora wore a white dress with tiny embroidered stars, reminding the staff of how far the twins had come from the cold orphanage steps where they were found. When their names were announced, they walked hand in hand onto the vast stage. Cameras zoomed in on their innocent faces, the audience fell silent as if sensing something sacred was about to happen. Noah sat at the piano, his legs barely reaching the floor. Nora positioned her violin, her hands trembling not from fear, but from emotion. When Noah pressed the first key, a soft, haunting melody drifted through the auditorium. Nora joined him, her violin rising like a quiet cry of longing. They played not as children with Down syndrome, not as abandoned orphans, but as artists. Their music held the weight of every rejection they had ever felt. Every lonely night, every moment they had relied on each other when the world gave them nothing. As the final notes faded, the camera captured tears streaming down Nora's cheeks, and Noah reaching over to squeeze her hand tenderly. The audience rose to their feet in a thunderous standing ovation. Judges cried, viewers watching live cried, even people who had never understood disability cried. And somewhere, in a small town miles away, the twins' biological parents stumbled upon the performance online, only to realize that the children they had abandoned had become global symbols of hope, resilience, and beauty. After the performance, invitations poured in from around the world. Music schools wanted to sponsor them. Foundations requested them as ambassadors for disability rights. Documentaries were proposed, but what mattered most was the newfound confidence growing inside Noah and Nora. They were no longer children defined by what they lacked, but by what they gave to the world. Still, life's greatest turning point came when the orphanage received a message from a couple who wanted to adopt them, not out of pity, but out of admiration, respect, and genuine love. The couple had struggled to have children and believed deeply in embracing those whom society overlooked. When they met the twins, Nora hugged her violin nervously while Noah hid behind her shoulder. But the couple knelt down, smiling warmly, and said, "We didn't come to judge your differences. We came because you make the world beautiful." The adoption process took months, but eventually, the twins walked out of St. Helena's doors for the final time, this time not abandoned, not alone, but loved. In their new home, a piano waited for Noah and a violin case sat ready for Nora. They practiced each evening, their bond stronger than ever. As the sun set each day, the music that once echoed through the halls of an orphanage now filled a home with warmth. And someday, whether on grand stages, in schools, or through digital screens, Noah and Nora's duet will remind the world that disability does not define destiny, that those abandoned by the world can rise higher than anyone expects, and that sometimes the most beautiful music is born from the most broken beginnings.